And welcome to Inside Ogden. One of us might be running for office. The other two apparently have decided that they don't need to dress up for the show any longer. I'm Doug Jardine, your host, along here with Matthew Godfrey. Where were you today?
It's no disrespect to you and our listeners that I'm dressed like this.
I didn't even ask why you were, but I hope you had a good afternoon and a nice, adventurous afternoon.
And it actually was work-related. Usually, when I dress down, they make me play golf, which is not... I mean, a lot of people, they would relish that, and for me, it's an obligation. So I do it once a year. But no, today, we actually are... we looked at a new trail today. We've been working on it for a long time, and we're going to announce it before the end of the year. I think people will be really excited. But I had to go and walk certain sections of it to make sure that that's where we wanted it to go. So
I would have done that with you.
Had I known.
I know. And then sitting next to you, Mayor, you just met her, and I just met her today, is Robin Owen, and she takes over Ogden Rocks. Now, you might think that's a familiar name, and it is, because she kept the same name of the corporation and the business that was there before. But welcome, Robin.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And we're going to be talking a little bit about Ogden Rocks, because it's not about high-flying outdoor adventure really anymore, is it?
No, it's not. It's furniture, home decor, gifts, and more.
Well, she's practiced that, and
Yeah.
that sounds like a good thing. And finding out a little bit about Ogden Rocks was interesting, how they order, how they sell, how they price, and all that type of thing. But we are a couple of months away still from you sitting in the seat that you currently sit in, and that's good. And overall, I want to find out, before we get into a couple of topics here, Mayor, what's the inside feeling like? You obviously feel like life is okay right now.
Yeah, life is good. I can come to Call and Chills Casual and not be fearful
Well, you're never
about what
good.
this might translate into. But it's different, for sure. From the week of the primary election, you could things in my office started to change. People are gearing up for the next mayor, and that's the way it should be. They should be looking to the new leadership that's going to come on board, and so I'm in a time of transition, and we're still working, getting a lot of stuff done. We're anxious to wrap up a lot of projects and everything we can accomplish before the end of the year. We're working very, very hard to do, but it's a different atmosphere than I've been in the last 12 years, for sure.
I didn't even mention before we ask questions again. This is your show, by the way, and we want you to call in, and the mayor would love to answer your questions, and Robin would as well. There you see the number 801-629-8411.
Can I make a special plea?
Sure.
We need your input. In the last couple weeks, I went to a city park that I had never been to before, and it was in terrible condition. I mean, the bathrooms were embarrassing, and I wish somebody would have called in and said, "Hey, did you have any idea how bad we need to do a remodel job on this restroom facility?" So that's the kind of stuff I would love to hear, and I hope people will call in and make us aware of things that. I mean, this is a big city. We have 42 parks and hundreds of miles of road and sidewalks, and those are the kinds of things that we'd love to hear on the show to know what we can do better.
Some of our most favorite calls over the last, 3-4 years, I don't even remember, have been, man, I smell dog food at 2 o'clock in the morning coming from a plant or something. And
yeah. And I bet they don't now. Yeah.
Yeah, they probably don't
That's
now.
one that we've pretty much fixed.
And all the other questions that come up too, from raising chickens in downtown Ogden to everything else that we've got. We should put together a little blooper show, Bill, about the different topics we've covered while Mayor's been in office. But one of the things that has happened since last we spoke, as you mentioned, was the primary. What do you think about our two contestants now who are going to be vying to take over your chair?
Great guys. Love both of them. I've known them both for a long time. I consider them both good friends and very capable men, so very grateful that they made it through, and look forward to seeing who comes out on top at the end.
And it was another close one. Almost had to have a little recount.
Yeah.
For Susie again. So.
Yeah, which would have been interesting since it's all electronic. We looked at ourselves and says, "How do you recount? Do you push the button and let it retabulate?" I'm not sure how we've gone about that.
That makes sense. I didn't even think about that on a recount.
Yeah, it's all electronic, so not sure what you recount.
All right. Well, let's talk about. I had the opportunity of a Q&A type setting with the mayoral candidates here about a month ago, and there are different ways of attacking or presenting your own position as you run for mayor. You can present your own position. You can attack an incumbent if there were one, or you can bring up issues and questions surrounding a mayor that may be leaving office, or just leave it up to your own whatever you're going to do when you're in office. And so the numbers get thrown around and that type of thing, and a couple of numbers caught your attention.
Yes.
And so we want to talk about that today. And you can tell me when I need to move, so you can write on it or not. But there was one here that we wrote down that that per capita spending had doubled, and I didn't write down how many years, but the last many years. One of the candidates at the time said that the per capita we had doubled. And I think, well, Bill, we have that, right? We have that quote? We're not going to play it?
Yeah.
Okay, we
But
just
they could have seen it. It was on our link. Yeah.
Okay, so let's take that one first, about per capita spending over the last several years, what it was and what it is today, and how accurate that type of a comment is.
Yeah. If you can, the numbers are all on our website, so you can go and look at them. We can't pull the wool over your eyes. They've been on there in PDF form for years and years. So if you go on our website and look under, I think it's under city government, it'll have budgets, and you can pull them up yourself. And you want to look at the CAFR, we call it the CAFR, Certified Annual Financial Report. Then it has an audited number for what city spending is. And so what you want to look at when you talk about city spending, that we're typically referring to the general fund budget. That's how we fund all the core city functions. And so that's the one you want to go to. And I'd love to give you I should have brought the page number because I actually have it. But you can go and look at that, and it will tell you. And the furthest back that it goes is 2004. Which is probably as good a year as any. I wanted to go back all the way to, they were quoting since 2001. I'm not sure why they pulled out 2001, but that would have been the first year after I was in office.
Well, it was a space odyssey.
Maybe that's why. I don't know. There's something spacey in there, but about that, pulling out that year. But the that was actually the year we lowered taxes. So 2000 was the year I came in office. We lowered taxes that year, so it would have been calendar year 2001. Was a 3% property tax reduction. So we actually took money out of the general fund by 3%. So anyway, so the number actually would have been lower in 2001 than it was in 2000. At least it should have been because of lowering taxes. So, but we don't have those online, and I want to deal with numbers that you can see. So if you go in, 2004 is the oldest one. And so look at that one, and then pull up 2010, which is the newest one. 2011 will be online in a couple months. We'll get that here in about 2 months, and we'll post it online as soon as we get it. But if you look up those two numbers for general fund budget, the total budget increased by less than 1/2% from 2004 to 2010. So that's 9 years if you count the calendar years. It's actually 9 years it increased 1/2%. Well, our population grew by more than 1/2% in that same time period. So our per capita spending actually went down from 2004 to 2010. So go look up the numbers yourself, and you can pull up the population numbers with the census. But our numbers are, I don't know where they're pulling these numbers from, but we actually decreased spending on a per capita basis, and find any other city in Utah that did that had their general fund that even remained flat over a 9-year period. And the reason that happened is because we cut budgets. We consolidated departments, and we cut taxes 3 times. I know nobody believes that because your tax bill goes up and down every year, and we only remember when it goes up. And we don't have any control over that. That's the county. But the numbers in our budget show that we actually have we have lower per capita spending over the last 9 years.
And I need to better understand this, and so I hope I don't ask a dumb rebuttal type question. But when we talk about education in the state, you have people getting in arms all the time saying that per capita spending is lowest in the nation. That's awful. But when it comes to city government, then you want to have per capita spending lower, even though your population is increasing. Wouldn't it be okay if you also increase per capita spending?
Yeah,
And see,
you never hear the media saying, why is Ogden's per capita spending so low? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the discussion you'll never hear, as it should be, right? They want us to run lean and mean and be very efficient, and we work very, very hard at doing that. And you can go look at the numbers yourself and see that we have been very efficient.
And the reason that you were able to actually have a 1/2% while the population was increasing is because increased sales taxes because of new business, or what offset that?
We did, as everybody has seen, we've actually grown, the downtown and redeveloped new areas, and so some of that is we have increased sales tax. and franchise fees that helped out along the way, and a lot of it's just that we've made reductions. We've reduced the number of employees. We've added more to the police department, but everywhere else throughout the city we've cut back and tried to live within our means.
Alrighty. Well, let's go ahead again and meet Robin Owens. And tell me about your great-grandpa on your husband's side, because I don't even think Mayor's going to know this, and he might go, really? See, we got one for you here, Mayor.
My husband's great-grandpa or great-great-grandpa was Ogden City's first sheriff. So that Owen Street in Ogden is named after him.
Is that right? Wow.
So that's my only connection. I commute up here
But that's
from
okay.
Salt Lake, so because it's the best place to work. Like, we decided where we were going to put our store, and this was where we chose. Like, of anywhere we could have gone, we chose to be here.
And we're actually sitting on Ogden Rocks furniture here today as well.
Excellent. That's why it's so comfy.
Don't fall asleep or anything. Usually we put you on the hot seat, but this is just a comfy seat today.
You
Way
have the
too late
hot
for
seat
that.
by the fireplace.
Whew. Thank heavens there's no outlet over here. Robin, tell us why you wanted to come to, well, you just mentioned that a little bit about doing business, but why was it so attractive to you to go ahead and commute from Salt Lake City and start a business in downtown Ogden?
Well, Cammie Geiger actually recruited us. So she came and found us and kind of what we were doing and our outlet store idea, our concept, and she said, this is what we want. This is exactly what we want for Ogden City. We're trying to build up the downtown area, and we want to build a program where we have lots of different outlet stores and lots of fresh new ideas and new concepts in this area. So that our citizens have a place to go where, you know, they don't have to drive to Park City to go to an outlet store. They don't have to commute somewhere else to be able to save in their own community. So we bring that idea and that concept, and Cammie found us and said, you're what we want. So the city
And I have
has,
to follow up on the outlet idea because I want you to explain how that works.
I will. Well, in Ogden City refreshed our building on the east side of Washington. We're on 2314. So it's us, and we share the building with Recreation Outlet on the other side of us. And our building will be 100 years old next year, well, 2013. So it's been completely rejuvenated. It is gorgeous. Oh my gosh, I love our building. But so we just have a couple of deals with some retail stores. We buy by the semi-truckload, and then I have a deal with Costco also, so we get a load from Costco every Thursday, and it's like we have this group that does a pilgrimage from other parts of the whole state, and they come and they actually stand around the back of my trailer and help us unload because we do half off of Costco's prices, so people crowd around the trailer and unload and they fight over paper towels and laundry detergent. But at half off, you know, if you're looking for a deal, it's the way to go.
And a lot of times you say you don't know what's going to be in the truck.
We never know. It's like Christmas every single day. And a lot of the boxes will have this little itty bitty tag that says what it is. And some of those are missing. And so you don't even know till you open the box. So
It's like even if there were potential problems there, Mayor, you could just have a slush fund and solve everything. That's what they do. They open the truck and it's Christmas, and if there's a problem in Ogden, you just go to the slush fund. And I would like to know where that is because
You read about that in the paper.
I did. Well, yes, I did.
Well, in the newspaper too. It's on your paper.
Well, it's on my paper, but I had heard about that, and I wondered what kind of slush fund that is, and that's probably a good position for Ogden City to be in if there is such a thing.
I'm trying to find it. Yes, but it was reported by a candidate and made it into the Standard Examiner that we have a $6 million slush fund. And his idea was to use that money to repair the sidewalks in the city. So I've asked our accountants to go find me that $6 million slush fund, and they have not been able to find it. But
At the very least, we could outfit everyone in new running shoes or something.
Exactly, or give them a gift certificate to go to our new store downtown. I mean, what better way to use $6 million than for our local retailers?
All kidding aside, though, there is no,
There
even
is
though
no-
that was stated, there is no slush
There is
fund.
no slush fund. We're doing things like we're paying down our debt early. We have an early retirement fund for our debt. We're saving money for future raises for employees. So which never existed in the history. I went to our comptroller who's been here his career and said, has the city ever saved money like this? And he said, never. So we're doing things to try to get ahead of it, but it's, we're retiring debt early and putting away some money for future for to be conservative. But I promise you, there's no $6 million slush fund.
And I noticed you brought some paper, and you want to draw on that.
I do, desperately, yeah.
First off, we want to remind you that this is your show, and before the mayor goes off and draws and gives us more number type things, because actually, for those of you that don't know, the mayor is quite a numbers guy. But your phone number for any question at all is 801-629-8411. Please call with your questions. We'd love to hear from you, and then we'll get back to Robin a little bit more and talk about some of the items that you see here, anything from computers to chairs to fireplaces, or you can find now at Ogden Rocks. And I don't know if this is a question that you would want to draw about or not, but a debt. What type of debt does Ogden City have right now, and where has that been? Where is it, and where might it be going if, in fact, there's a debt of, say, $150 million?
Yeah, there were numbers thrown all around. I heard somebody even say 160 some odd million at one point, which are inaccurate numbers. But they were saying it. The candidates have been throwing that number out. Not the two that got through, because they actually were educated on the issues. But others were just throwing these numbers around recklessly, trying to instill fear in the citizens. And I get concerned about that people hear these numbers and think, oh my, we're like the federal government drowning in debt that we can't possibly repay. So I'd like to set the record straight. Once again, these are numbers that everybody can have access to. They're online, so you can pull up our 2010 CAFR, and if you do that, it'll print out this page, which is the same page I'm going to use. And should we just get at it?
I'm going to go ahead and bring your I'm connected, so I'm going to stand up and move out of your way, and you can bring your paper over here, and we'll leave Robin by herself just for a second.
You're not going to change into shorts while I'm gone?
No, I was just kidding about that.
Okay, so we have four basic categories of debt. The first one is for, I'm just going to put buildings. So there's really two pieces to it, but it was a general obligation GO bond that was entered into before I became mayor. I think 98 or so it was voted on or 97 maybe, and it was passed by voters by an overwhelming margin. And that was to replace this building, build the new public safety building, and then there was also some of that went toward there's another chunk of money that went towards our public services building. So that total amount is a little under, we'll call it 17 million. Okay, so we have buildings, 17 million. And keep in mind, this was approved by the voters. There's a piece of the Public Works building that's paid for by utilities and wasn't on the ballot, but virtually all of that was something that you as voters approved. Okay, then there's a leases. And this is categorized as debt because there are leases that last more than, I can't remember what the accounting rule is, but if it's more than a couple years, year or two, you have to put them on as though it's long-term debt. So this is around $7 million. The reason that we do leases is because it's just a business decision. For example, we were able to get a grant to redo our garbage trucks. Our garbage trucks were aging, they needed to be replaced, we were having real maintenance issues. We were able to get a grant that would allow us to buy CNG, or compressed natural gas, garbage trucks, which is a huge savings because we're paying $4 a gallon for diesel fuel. We pay less than $1 a gallon for CNG, and they get the same miles per gallon, so approximately. So that's a big deal. It's a big savings to us, and for us to save up the money so we can make that upfront capital purchase did not make as much sense financially as leasing these vehicles over a several year period, because by leasing them and getting those vehicles now, we had an annual savings that was many, many hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it more than offset the cost of the lease. So citizens were better off. It was cheaper for us to do the leases, and that's been true, and there are a couple different categories where we've done that. So we will make, as a business decision, we will enter into leases when that's the least costly option for our citizens. So there's about $7 million there. The next area is we're going to call it our infrastructure. STRUCTURE. Okay, this is really water, sewer, and storm sewer. This is about 55 million. This was not my project. The city council, this is probably 4 or 5 years ago, was adamant about wanting to redo our infrastructure, water, sewer, and storm sewer. And so they held many public meetings. I expressed great concern about it in the paper and in the meetings about the size of this amount and going out for this much money. But the council was unanimous in their desire to make this happen. They held public meetings and some people attended. The night this was approved by the city council to raise your water bill and your sewer bill and your storm sewer. I don't think one person stood up. Maybe there may have been one, but there hardly anybody came, if anybody at all, and spoke against this, which I thought was shocking because it was a lot of money and it was dramatically increasing water bills. So I am saying that being defensive in case it looks like I'm being defensive, because this was not my issue. This is not something that I was fighting for, and good projects have been accomplished, and we were in charge of making these projects happen, and we've been able to do, because construction costs have come down, we've done far more projects than we ever thought we would with this money. But that's where the bulk of the money is coming from. Debt is, if you will. Okay, then the last area is RDA. And the RDA is about 52 million. Now these numbers will be a little bit different because this is actually 18 months old, and so some of these numbers I'm rounding down because we've actually paid off debt since then. So the numbers I'm giving you are round and they're closer. There might be a little high even from where they actually are at today. RDA debt is, I call it developer debt. So what happens is developers are borrowing against their future property tax payments. So every year they're going to write a check out to Weber County for their property taxes, and they're getting a portion of that back in what's called tax increment. Well, that money was bonded for up front, and they are obligated to pay it. So they're on the hook for it, not the Ogden City taxpayers. You're not liable to pay this for them. They have to pay it. So that 52 million is not us. We're the conduit, we call it. Just that debt flows through us, but it was originated and will be paid for by private developers who are developing the blighted parts and challenging parts of our community. So we had a lot of, as you can see, those elements do not add up to $150 million. It's under, right around $130 million is the total debt. Keep in mind that this amount here, the buildings at 17 million, will be paid off in 5 years. Could be less, but right now we're on track and we're paying this off early through some savings that we've accumulated, but this will be gone in 5 years, and you once again voted for this. For the most part, there is a little piece for public works that I mentioned. The leases will always just be churning, but that's part of our budget. So it's part of the budget. It's something that we do. It's part of, as I mentioned, with the garbage trucks. That gets paid off, and as it makes more sense to us, when it makes more sense to lease rather than buy and save the money to buy. We do both. We usually will save money and purchase with cash, but when an opportunity comes where it's cheaper to lease, then we do that. So this is not something that would make sense to pay off early because the money is in annual budgets to pay off, and this is wise business decision. So we shouldn't stress about this. Infrastructure. This is once again something that is being paid for out of your utility bills. So it's there. It wouldn't make any sense to try to pay that off early because you're going to keep paying your utility bills. You really don't have any choice but to pay your water bill. And so that money will get paid off. It's a long-term debt, 17 years to pay that off. And I think I've been pretty clear about how I've tried to distance myself from the responsibility of that one. But that one doesn't make sense to try to pay off early either, nor does the RDA. It would be crazy for us to use any of our city money, taxpayer funds, to pay that off early because the developers are obligated to it. So when you look at the real picture of where we're at with debt, the more RDA debt we have, the better. That number goes up, you cheer, because it means that we have private sector people investing their dollars into the areas of our city that's hard to redevelop. And they're getting a portion of their own property taxes back as the incentive, the inducement to come in and build in our community. So if that doubled, we should be thrilled. We should be elated that we have more people coming in and putting their money in our town. This one is going to be gone in just a few years, and this one, as long as it makes business sense, we should be using that as a tool, just like every business does. They lease when that's the most effective tool for them, and we would be wise to do the same thing. So we're in good shape. The major debt that we have that is a general obligation to the citizens is going to be paid off in 5 years. This will be paid off through your utility bills, and the others have their own people who are going to go through them. So we have not overextended ourselves by any means. We're in very, very good shape. And if anybody has more questions about it, I'd be happy to field your calls. So don't get panicked.
And Robin had a front row seat, so I hope you got all of that.
There's going to be a quiz later, right?
No, not on this show. But a couple of questions from me, Mayor. On the buildings number, even though we would pay off that in 5 years, wouldn't there also be a chance that that's cyclical, and we're always going to have buildings that need repair and whatnot?
No, we've actually repaired all of our buildings. So we don't have any buildings in the city that are old and dilapidated and are in bad shape.
Okay.
So we're in really, really good shape, and we've maintained these buildings very, very well. Encourage everybody to go through them, but we have, this is your money, and we've tried to make sure we're protecting your investment in this community. So these buildings will last for another generation. You should get another 40, 50 years out of them before an elected official's talking about doing major renovations.
Oh, that's great. And then I wanted to bring up one letter to the editor, because you were talking about water bills and water rates, and the letter to the editor addresses that as well. Where are water rates? Where have they been, and where are they going?
I believe water rates need to go down. Right now we have a structure that is unconscionable. I don't know how this has been allowed to remain in place, and I've talked to the council about it, and have really been pushing to lower the water rates. So right now, about a third of our city has secondary water, and so you're paying $150 a year for as much water as you want for watering your lawn and any other outside use. Those that do not are paying on a per 1,000-gallon basis. Well, on average, the average home in Ogden is using about 10,000 gallons for your indoor water use. It would make sense that it wouldn't matter whether or not you had secondary water or not, that your first 10,000 gallons should be the same price, right?
If that's the average, sure.
I mean, because whether you have secondary or not, I mean, if that's your in-home use, you should be paying the same as anybody else. Mm-hmm. Right now, ironically, the people who have secondary water and so spend less to water their outside lawns also are paying less for that first 10,000 gallons of water. So we're penalizing those of you who don't have secondary water. We're making you pay more for the first 10,000 gallons of water that you use in your home. You might ask yourself, why? We don't have any idea. I mean, that was not the structure that we proposed. I promise you that. I mean, the administration, we were actually proposing that we kept the old structure and raised it. So we brought it to the attention of the decision makers, which is the city council in this regard, that is out of whack. There are many members of the council that want to change it. There are some who don't, frankly, who are very resistant to changing this, which I don't understand. But it's got to get fixed. So we're trying to do two things. One is to make it so it's the same. Doesn't matter which street you're on, you pay the same amount of water for the first 10,000 gallons of water. The second thing is, now with all this infrastructure that's been put into place, we have the ability to deliver a lot more water than we've ever been able to deliver to the city. So we're proposing to the council that we create parity between those that have secondary and don't. So we calculated what you should be paying for water. Essentially, we took a 6-month average, so from April to October, and said if you pay for secondary water through your property tax bill, you're paying about $25 a month extra to have that water. It's $150 a year, so over 6 months, it's about $25 a month. So we said, well, if you don't have secondary, if you're on culinary, you should be able to pay about that same amount of money and water your lawn. And so we did the calculations of the average size lot, then how much water it would take to maintain that and make it green and clean. And then we proposed a rate structure to the council that says this should be the new rate structure, so which would lower it pretty significantly, so that it doesn't matter where you live, if you water the appropriate amount, you're going to be paying the same amount whether you have secondary or not. And that as well has not been really well received, but we're going to push because we think that is fair. That's just. We have the ability to deliver that amount of water and to our citizens, and we think it's long overdue.
And so the timetable on City Council taking it up in public comment periods?
I don't know. I know that they're looking at some things. They're trying to understand how that rate structure got out of kilter. I don't think it seems like they were surprised by that as well. So they've been doing some studying. I don't know what the delay is, but we're going to keep pushing to make this happen. So, long explanation, but somebody, when that was announced in the paper, somebody wrote a letter to the editor saying the first claim was that the first thing that I did when I got into office is that I doubled his water bill or raised the water bill, which is absolutely false. That absolutely did not occur. The water rates, once again, the mayor doesn't do that. If I wanted to raise your water rates, I can't. Only the city council can raise your water rates, and that happened with the bond that we talked about before, and it was after several public hearings, and people didn't show up to say no, and so I'm to this day, I think they are of the mind that you all wanted to spend that money to make that happen. The second point that he brought up is was wondering what my nefarious plot was for now wanting to lower rates, which I thought was kind of odd. What could I possibly be plotting to do by proposing to lower your rates? So I'm here to announce that there is no plot.
There's no plot, and if the rates go down, it will be because the city council
decided that they thought it was the best thing.
Okay,
Yep.
All right. Well, one of the things, thanks for that explanation. It's very educational. It really is. Appreciate that.
Sorry it was so long.
That's okay. It's your show. One of the things we've tried to do over the last couple of years, each show, is invite a local business owner operator in. And Robin Owens is here today. And I know that was a long explanation, but sometimes that happens on this show. But one of the most important things in any community, Mayor, I know is your small business community. And so you get excited whether it happens to be Amir Sports or whether it's Ogden Rocks to welcome new small business in, just like Robin.
70% of our jobs are small businesses, so we don't get the award of being the fastest growing job market in the country if you don't cater to these small businesses.
I wasn't going to bring that up yet because I know you had a plot to get and that. But Robin, talk again about your connection to Ogden, if any, and then why Ogden City now, and what are folks going to find when they enter Ogden Rocks now on Washington?
Well, my business partner lives in Ogden, so he is a Ogdenite. It's Tom Bashford. Many people know him. He's kind of a legendary golfer up in these parts. But anyway, so he lives up here and knows a lot of people, and that's part of how we got to even be found and discovered. But I actually met him at an auction because at the time my husband was a state employee and federal budget cuts caused him to lose his job. So I was going out trying to find other ways to save money. And then that's where I met Tom, and we started partnering on things and buying things in bigger bulks till both of our spouses said, we'd like to eventually park in our garages. You guys got to figure something else out. And so we opened a store. And I mean, it all started to try and save money, and then we just found and developed these relationships with these vendors where now we can extend that on to other people. So people who have fallen on harder times, Christmas is still going to come. Birthdays are still going to come. And there's got to be a way to still be able to feel like you can have a life even when times are harder. You know, you're still going to have people over for Thanksgiving. Do you need more chairs? You know, there's all these things that people need and will always need. And rather than going to a faceless retailer that's profiting hand over fist. I mean, like on our Costco stuff, we make 5%, and I haul it up here. So, I mean, we really are doing our best to extend all of our abilities on saving to the community and to bring a good product.
I want to throw out the basic premise and tell me if I'm wrong, because I don't like being wrong very often. But you will go out and you will order product in, and a lot of times folks would order it in off the internet and they'd still have to put it together. But like these chairs, for instance, they will come to you, you'll still put them together, you'll still cut the price by 50%, and then that's how you sell it, so that people don't have that worry. What if I put a chair together at home and I'm missing some screws, or I can get that chair from you and you take care of that problem for me as well, right?
Yep, I do.
I'm not so far off there.
Well, I don't get to order.
Okay.
So there's one thing, I get whatever comes. We buy by the semi-truckload, so whatever shows up. It's
And
a
we've
little
got some
fun,
things
exciting
that
thing
have shown
that
up
way.
here, but I haven't seen it. I would imagine that's a bear, unless they got the face wrong. But anything from phones to laptops to chairs to bears to a fireplace.
Yeah, and then we assemble all of it, because if you were to buy from an online retailer, if you were missing hardware, I mean, I've tried this. Those home improvement stores are expensive for hardware. So we have tons and we put it all together. But like this bear is from a local guy that we have, and he actually came here and is come to Ogden because he decided from another state this is where he wanted to be. And so we brought him on.
Support the bears, give honey.
So we're trying to help him be an Ogdenite because this is where he wants to be out of anywhere else in the world. And like he used to carve at Yellowstone. And then waterproof camera, the retail price is $400, $399.99. So we have it at $200. I mean, same warranty
the fun
and
part
everything.
about this is it's almost like a farmer's market type thing. You go into your shop one Monday, you go in the next Monday, you're going to have a completely new potpourri of items to choose from.
Yep, it's different.
Because you don't even know what's coming in.
Right, and then we have a warehouse too. So the minute something sells and it's off of our floor, we'll go grab something else and put it down there. So there's something different every day, if not more than once a day.
Do you guys have a slush fund?
No.
Well, give the address again. And do you have a website as well?
We do. It's 2314 Washington is our address. And then what's our website, Dust? My husband. Oh, it's ogdenrocks.com.
And that's ROX.
Yep. ROX is an acronym, and it stands for Retail Outlet Experience.
So ogdenrocks.com, and you might find the website under development right now, but that's kind of a fun business, and we'll talk a little bit more in just a second.
Okay.
Mayor, we got some good news today or the last couple of days about job growth in Ogden City.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, were you thinking about shopping there or what?
No, I
you mean
announced
no?
it already.
I know,
kinda.
but we're going to go more into that.
We're gonna
You just
pretend
kind
like
of
I didn't just announce it.
no. Well, you announced it, but you kind of just went over the.
Oh, okay.
That was really fast.
It is a quick announcement.
No, so we want to say a longer one.
Okay. So yesterday, I guess the Bureau of Labor and Statistics just came out with their figures for job growth across the country, and our MSA, which is our statistical area, came out as being the top area in the country for job growth. So if you're confused, thinking, well, wait a minute, a week or two ago, wasn't there an announcement about us being second in the country behind Provo? And that's true. The Brookings Institute did do a study, and they had us coming out as second, and I think that was for the last 90 days. But if you take the last 12 months, we're actually number one. So I think it was 3.5% job growth over the last year or so.
And that's all sectors.
Yeah, so that's a big deal for our community, and we've had the other good news was Wall Street Journal also recognized us as being what they called the brain gain, one of the largest brain gains in the country, one of the top 10. So we have, I think, 5.5% brain gain in the last 10 years. So people moving to the area with college degrees. So that's good news. So people are coming with more education, which means they probably have more disposable income and can go shop at our store.
And that is.
And they have more jobs here too. So hopefully this translates into obscene profits for Ogden Rocks.
Well, and I know I haven't seen any numbers recently, but I know you've always been pleased with not only the amount of businesses, new businesses moving in, but the amount that they're able to pay in salaries, because that's always been at or above, it seems like, in the last couple of years, national averages.
Yeah, we push that hard. We're not just going after any job. And we're getting a lot of customer service jobs in, which when I first came into office, we shied away from. Those were very low paying and no benefits and high turnover. And that has changed. What happened in the last 12 years has been fascinating. We've seen the service jobs went overseas because they thought they could take it from $8 and $10 an hour down to $2 and $3, and it's just failed. And so they're bringing them back and now realizing that they have to make it a career for people. And so the salaries are much better. We typically are recruiting companies that pay between $40,000 and $60,000 a year. And so those are livable wages for our community.
And what comes to mind is a company like Good Skis
Yeah.
that had sent manufacturing over there and then brought everything back within the last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I wanted to ask you again, we have talked about the river restoration project for a long time, over a year, and now a week from tomorrow we'll be able to say, hey, for the first 1.1 miles, absolutely look gorgeous. And I've been down there lots of times, and if you haven't been to the new Ogden River, you probably should take time and stroll down there with your family on bikes or walking or skateboards or fly fishing or canoes or tubes or whatever. This is now a shining star for downtown Ogden, and I know there's a lot of kudos to go around, but the city's involved, DNR's involved, private. It's really been a lot of folks coming together to make this happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it started out as a very, very controversial project. The Ogden River project was rife with conflict, and getting it approved was no small miracle. I think we need to recognize Stuart Reed. He was actually the one that came up with this idea. I had asked him to put together a development proposal for the section of river that's above Washington. We own a fairly large parcel of land up there, and I said, well, let's go and look at what we can do to develop that, to create some more tax base and make a really nice housing development around the river, right next to downtown. And he said okay, and came back with what we now call the Ogden River project. He said, I don't think that's the right place to launch, and came back with this vision of taking a very blighted section of the river, and it was overwhelming. You went and you drove through it and you're like, how in the world are we ever going to clean this up? But we just started buying up the homes after we got it approved, which took us, a year and a half or 2 years to get it through the council approval process. And once we started cleaning it up, there's controversy with tearing down the homes and buying the homes and
Who burned down the homes?
and who burned down the home. I mean, every step of the way, it's just been a battle to get it done. But now you take people to it and everybody says, what a wonderful project,
Yeah.
how great and beautiful this river is. And there were a lot of wonderful partners. You mentioned the state that came up with money, and we received some federal grants, and the sewer board kicked in, Ogden, the Central Weber Sewer Board, and a host of others have put in money, and the city put in a big chunk as well to make this happen.
And just if you want to be a part of that, again, it's a week from tomorrow, October 7th is the date there, but it's a whole day affair.
Yeah.
So go down there and volunteer. They're still going to go and clean up some stuff and
Plant 2,000 shrubs.
Yeah,
or
it's
trees.
It's Green Day, not the group, but Green Day in Ogden. You can sing Green Day songs if you'd like, and nobody would say anything about
The
it.
Green Day band is welcome to come.
They
like.
invite them. No, we cannot pay, but that's okay. And another thing that the project does, Mayor, is help and assist small businesses, because you had Bingham Cyclery that took the jump and was the very first business there, and now the river becomes an attraction to help small businesses, and we hope others there, and then others farther down Washington, like Robin, they have to reap benefit of people coming to see this project as well.
Yeah, and we're going to add 800 rooftops to that area. So those are all shoppers, people that'll be downtown, and the closest place for them to buy home furnishing and discounted paper towels is going to be Ogden Rocks, and that really is important for these downtown small businesses. And if you drive past the river project back behind Bingham's, you will see piles of dirt, and that's because they are putting in footings and foundations for these new homes, townhomes and condos and all that stuff.
I didn't see. I was there a couple weeks ago, and I didn't even notice. Were they there?
Yeah, no, probably not a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
It just started in the last probably 2 weeks.
So, as a small business person and small business owner, what are you? And it's okay that he's sitting here because he's going out of office, and you can say anything you want. But what is your feeling about the way Ogden City steps up or does what it should do or doesn't do when it comes to helping small business.
I gotta say, why are you leaving? I mean, seriously, I'm gonna move up here just so I can vote and make you stay. I'm so impressed. Everything that you have said is, I mean, you really are for your citizens. This is awesome. I'm really happy to meet you.
Well, thank you. You're very kind. There's plenty who are thrilled that I'm leaving. They're having a party on January 2nd to
Well, that
be
just
thrilled that I'm
happens.
gone.
But have you felt in general that Ogden City and starting your small business, there weren't too many ropes to jump through and that type of thing to get you going and starting?
Yeah, no, I felt like the city was very much pulling for us, and they've come down many times. We had the Spikers come out and do a ribbon cutting ceremony last Saturday or Friday. So, I mean, we've met a lot of people. Tons of people from the city have come in and introduced themselves and asked how they can help us. And we're planning a city block party for in the spring. So, to invite people out and have some good sales for some of our outlet store and other outlet stores as well.
And that's interesting that you will continue to push this as an outlet store, and that'll be kind of a fun little idea to have downtown as well. Not a whole block like you would find, at the factory outlet stores or something where the prices are normally higher anyway,
Yeah,
like in Park
exactly.
City. But this is a true outlet entity.
Yeah, we really are, and that's kind of part of our concept too, is as we expand and continue our relationships with the vendors that we have now, we are still looking into opening up some other new relationships with different vendors. So as long as the pricing is right and the percentages are right and we feel like we're still doing a service to the community, we will sign up with other vendors and even expand our store as it is, and maybe even take over the block and have an outlet block.
I
So
don't think you'd find any opposition from City Hall.
No. And we're developing a real, so right downtown we have Down East Recreation Outlet, Ogden Rocks, we have the Solomon Center Outlet Store, Solomon and Atomic Outlet Store, and we have Black
G
and
for
Decker.
G.
They have some
Some of them.
outlet stores at G4G, and there's one other, Shaver Mart, which claims to be an outlet store downtown, and there's one or two others. So there are quite a few. Tukaloo, they have some outlet product. So
The only
we're
one that
building it.
isn't that I frequent a lot is the potato shop.
Yeah, we're grateful that
Brixton's.
they're.
My
that
goodness
they're,
gracious, they would have been out of business had I not been in and around Ogden.
I'm so glad they deliver too.
Aren't they delicious? Especially
They're
the
so
chili
good.
ones with cheese. Well, there's this sweet pork one too that we could talk about. Hey, do we want
do we
to?
need to bring them on the show?
No, because they would have nothing to show after 5 minutes in. Everything would be gone. Do we want to talk about a little redistricting? tonight
Yeah,
as
sure.
well?
Yeah, let's do.
Because that's another incredibly awesome, fascinating topic.
Yeah,
Do you want to draw?
I wish I could. I wish I could draw the boundaries.
Well, talk about
Imagine
redistricting
in
and
your
how that's
mind.
important to Ogdenites these days.
We've been used as the poster child for what's wrong with redistricting in Utah. And the argument that's being made is, look at poor Ogden. They split us up into 3 different Senate districts. And they're saying, Ogden should have their own senator that can represent them. Well, we totally disagree. We're thrilled to have 3 senators representing Ogden. And what it does, it takes one chunk heads out west, one chunk heads kind of north, and the other one southeast. And it's better for us. The more representatives, the more senators that have a piece of Ogden, the better for us. And so this notion that it's carved up our community, and they act like you can't communicate now as neighbors because you have different senators representing you. And we don't see any downside to it at all. We're thrilled, and I see no reason to have districts set up by city boundaries at all. I mean, it doesn't matter to the city, and so we love it, the new redistricting. And while the media and those that oppose it keep saying, look at what they did up north to this community, and now I guess some of the rhetoric is it's political, and that I feel this way for political reasons, which is absolutely bogus. This is a nonpartisan office, and nobody ever asked me or consulted me about how the political ramifications of this. I was told that they were going to give us that when it was going through the process, that we were looking to get more senators, and I was elated So I have no political agenda other than what's right for Ogden, and this is fantastic.
Alrighty. Robin, we have a couple minutes left is all. I want you to tell the folks again about Ogden Rocks, what you do, where you are, and how they get in touch with you, and what your hours of operation are.
Okay. Ogden Rocks is on 2314 Washington. We are an outlet store carrying pretty much anything that's sold in the country, anything from clothing to noodles to memory foam mattress toppers and luggage and home appliances. We have everything. We are open from noon to 8 every day except Sunday. It's the only day we're closed. And we have electronics, and we're having some great sales, and we're clearancing out all of our outdoor stuff, patio furniture. We even have a portable spa, awesome for tailgating. It's a portable hot tub that has the jets and the heater and everything. I want to see that at a Utes game really bad. But so yeah, and we just have the best employees ever. There's Treasure and Jason, and they'll take care of anybody who comes in and has a question or a need. And we even keep a wish list since we don't know what we're going to get. So when somebody wants to ask for us to watch out for something for them, we'll add them to our book and keep their name and number and call them when it comes in.
There you go. Thanks, Robin.
Thank you.
Ogden's newest downtown small business, and we'll just keep adding to small business downtown, Mayor.
Yeah, very impressive. As you can see, we're lucky to have so many good quality small businesses like Ogden Rocks coming in, so thank you.
Thank you.
If you had a question and weren't able to get through because the lines were so jam-packed today, you can also email the mayor at
mayor@ogdencity.com.
really any question. He's more than happy to take the time to answer that. That'll do it for this edition of Inside Ogden. It is your show. We'll be back again for 2 more with Mayor Godfrey, and that will do it, won't it?
It will.
So until next time, we hope you have a very pleasant good evening.